All right, everybody. Welcome. A special Tuesday edition. I know with Facebook down, everybody was scrambling. What are they going to do without seeing John and Art and the Life of Dad show on Monday at lunchtime? They were freaking out. We were getting millions. I got 1.4 million texts. How about you?
I think 2.4 for me, maybe. Not trying
Yeah,
to have.
where are you guys? So we are back today with a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts. We both coach our kids' sports teams. Art has a fresh story. I have some somewhat fresh from the last couple of weeks, but the topic is dealing with obnoxious coaches in kids' sports. And we'll go through a whole gamut of those. I have a top 5 or 6 list that we can go over at the end of it. But as always, let us know where you are watching from. Today's show is brought to you by the Life of Dad podcast, your favorite podcast. If you are listening to it, please go to iTunes and send some comments. It really helps us out. Also, make sure you go to the Life of Dad show on our lifeofdad.com website and subscribe to the podcast. And we have a special thing for today's that came out. We had yesterday a Pudge Rodriguez podcast, which was awesome. He talked hitting dingers, his kids, all kinds of cool stuff. He is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, right off the bat, Nicholas comes strong with there's this thing called a throat punch. And then he's like, just joking. Yeah, definitely check out New York here. Love you guys. Right back at you, Nicholas. Thanks always for checking out the show. Yeah, so this, I was talking to John about this, and I was just heated over the weekend. We had, I coached my oldest daughter's basketball team, and there's some rules, like you can play man-to-man. There's some other things that were going on. And we practiced on a half court on Thursdays, and there's another team that practiced. And they're pretty much like the dream team. Like they have, like you can tell that these people are like live and breathe basketball, which is fine. I don't care about that. The girls are enjoying it. My daughter and like her team are just like excited to get exercise, excited to bond with friends and all that. And so like, this is great. Levi saying hello, and then we got David saying, yep, those throw punches work every time. BJ saying hello as well. And please share your comments, share your stories as well, because I know you got some. Even if you're not a coach and you're just kind of witnessing from the stands, let us know how you kind of dealt with it.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're talking about kids like under high school age. Like high school, kids are good. To learn the fundamentals of playing, have fun, keep the kid interested in the sport. So there is a divide when we say, kids sports. We're not talking about crazy high school coaches. There is different. Those kids have to learn how to lose and play and talent. We're talking about, just to be clear, kind of 12 and under, 13 and under, let's say.
No doubt. Yeah, you need to bring the humor when it is to lighten the mood with an obnoxious coach. Yes. Oh man, there's so many things I want to get into. But so like I say, we're going back. So I want to go back. So we're in practice, and me and the other coach, we're looking at the other team and like, yeah, they're legit. All right. When we play them, we're probably gonna get our butt kicked. I get it. But we were joking that this guy, the way he dresses, it's like at nighttime, he's wearing a visor, you're indoors, and he's got like a clipboard and all this other stuff. And we're like, he's like the guy from an 80s movie that is like, bad dude that's got like the girl in the beginning and just like, pushes the kid, the hero in the sand and the big, whatever the case may be, and just is the total jerk, right? Yeah. So like our first impression. Again, don't judge by a book by its cover, but unfortunately this book the cover is very much like the middle in the text. But so this Saturday we had the game with them, and we're getting ready to practice before the game starts. And he looks at me and he goes, "You guys are sitting over there, not there." Again, this is a YMCA league, just fun, having fun, right? I'm glad that we're keeping score. It's good at this point. I think my daughter needs to know the idea of like, all right, this you're gonna win or lose, but just have fun, right? And just know the basics of playing basketball. So right off the bat, he looks at me and goes, "Hey man, you're sitting over there, not over here." I was like, "All right, fine." He's like, "And also you're going to practice over on the other side." I was like, "What? Why can't we just practice right over here?" He's like, "No, man, this is how you do things. You practice on the opposite side of the bench." I immediately look at him and I start laughing my butt off. And I'm like, okay, man, whatever. I'm just going to shoot here. You go back down there. And I'm like, "Good luck." And he's like, "Okay." And I could tell he got really offended, but I'm just like, dude, these are 10-year-old girls just hanging out and learning, man. So I'm like, just chill. So we're gonna go back and forth with the story, but I mean, have you experienced something like this, John?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it happens all the time that there's a bunch of different categories I would lump these guys in, and I'll kind of go over some of them later. But like one of the most difficult ones that you have, this is with, I'd say most likely like really 10 and unders, is when you have a team that has clearly been playing together for a long time, that kind of isn't the normal thrown together rec league team inside of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. And that clearly plays, fall, sprint, that basically their parents are doing the thing that you're really not supposed to do at that age, which is specialize the kid in a single sport. That's what leads to, like, we had our friend Tommy John on, like, and his son, like, that leads to all these ACL injuries and MCL injuries and shoulder tears, and even for soccer, ankle injuries and all this kind of stuff. And so you have these guys who don't care about any of that. And their weekend lives and dies with 8-year-olds playing softball, good or bad. And the story that I was telling you when you shared that yesterday was when I coach, assistant coach for like my daughter's softball team. She's 7 years old. Like the best thing that can happen is they actually get a hit or the ball goes to them at one of the positions and they get it to the right base. Like some of the girls are good and some of them have really nice swings and they're getting to be better. Like you definitely should keep score then and understand what's going on. But you play a team who the girls clearly know a different, maybe like 3 levels above what our girls play. And it becomes not fun. Like they're getting every girl out. So like the idea of that game is they play for like an hour and a half. But if you're playing with the 3 outs and the girls are never going to get anything but singles, none of them get to hit. None of them go beyond first base. They're not learning the game. So halfway through, we went up like, look, clearly your girls are really good and congratulations. But our girls want to learn. We need to teach them how to run the bases. Like, they don't know what happens after a single because they're not like, I know that's what practice is technically for, but for the hour and a half with all the rain that we've had, we want to let them play in this real simulation. Like, what's it like to watch a hit, run to first? Like, we never have enough girls to do all this stuff. And the guy was like, no. We're so like, well, okay. Like, it was no way this guy would say no. But he said no. We're like, all right, I guess. So the girls are upset because, like, they're never getting a hit, which is half of the fun. They're never staying on base because they never hit out of the infield. And the girl with the 7-year-old, the cannon arm, who's, Ray Ordonezing it from short to first, like, on no hop.
Ray
nice. Yeah, like, that's the kind of thing that gets frustrating. And as a parent who just wants the kid at that age, like, I know there's a gradual progression of kids being good. And, you and I are adamantly against participation ribbons and winning when no one wins and all that stuff. Yeah. But there's a certain age where it's still, hey, let's work together so both teams enjoy it. And that's where, when that's gone, you get kids who are like, softball sucks. And that's not the point of why you're playing.
Exactly. You want them just to have, like, I tell my my kids and also my daughter, like the kids that I'm coaching, I'm like, play smart, play hard, and have fun. That's all I want you guys to do. Yeah. And we do the fundamentals here and there. But as I go back into my basketball story from this past week, I want to see what Steve wrote. He goes, I pulled my son right off the field in the team and talked to him about good sportsmanship and how coaches and parents should and shouldn't act. Lesson learned. So there's something good right there. Yeah. A lot of people are kind of agreeing with us. Elaine says, yes, you should say something to because they're your kids. And then Chubbs says, nice name, by the way, Chubbs, love it. I've got 3 boys, all highly active in sports, and as a father, it is very important for me to do with my kids. They're doing self-defense first, boxing, Thai, and wrestling. And then they'll train where I went because I trust the coaches. That's another thing too. You want to go somewhere where you trust the organization, you trust the coaches, and you get this feeling like, all right, yes, at this age level, like you said, 8th grade and on, maybe, okay, start caring about winning and losing and all that stuff. And I get that. But there's a point where there's an age gap, I think at still 10 years old, where most of the people have played. This is like the first or second year they're playing and they're still learning, right? And if they all of a sudden get, like, my whole team was really scared to play this other team because 1, they saw them in practice and saw what they did. And then 2, like in the warmups, they were doing like this, like pretty much Golden State Warrior drill right before like the game. And they're just like
screaming and weave on their own. Yeah.
As 10-year-olds, they were just like, And like my daughter was like, oh man, I know we're gonna lose. I'm like, don't worry, lose. Just play, use what we taught you in practice and go from there. So in our league, you can do man-to-man defense, but there's no double teaming, and you can't start your defense until half court. Once the team brings the ball half court.
Full court press on 7.
Because we have like a couple tall kids. They get the jump. We get the jump ball. Of course, the jump ball goes to our back court, and so we're gonna go forward. Immediately, they start double teaming us. I'm like, what? And one of the dads was helping me out, and he yells at the refs, "No double team, no double team." And I look at the guy with that's keeping the score and the time. I'm like, we can't double team, right? And he didn't answer me right away, and I felt like he is like in cahoots with the coach because he's probably good for him. And I was just like, this is like mind-boggling, like right off the gate, like 3 seconds in, they're already violating stuff. And like they're doing pick plays, which is fine, but it was pretty cool because you can do pick plays. But like two of our players, they understood like what to do. They didn't like press the defender, the point guard, because they were like everybody was setting picks for the point guard. Two of them that were guarding her gave her space and just went around the pick, and we're like, awesome job. Nice. So long story short, even though I made this a long story, I can just tell I'm passionate about this because this was just
it's frustrating. Yeah.
This is irking me. And so like at the end of the game, they're up by like 20 points. 30 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. The other coach calls a timeout to draw a play. I would be fine with this under one circumstance. It was the last game of the season. Mind you, this was the third game, and we have like 10 games. This was it was the last game of the season, and the person on their team didn't score, and they're trying to make her score.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
I'm fine with that. But it wasn't the case. They actually drew up a play for their star player to get like a double-double or something. And I was just like, I look at the guy that was helping me out, and I look at like the parents that were on our team, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And of course they score, and everyone's like clapping and stuff. I'm like, how is this teaching someone like any value? Yeah.
It's such a problem when the coaches like. So like when you are on the same page, like where you're both like, hey, the whole point is fun. Like it can get annoying because you don't understand where they're coming from. Because you want all the kids to have fun, like your team and their team. So you're kind of almost coaching both teams in that regard, where anybody gets a hit, you're clapping for both sides. Like, and so we always have one, especially in T-ball, where like now we're throwing, halfway through the season, you start throwing pitches, which is fine. But we kind of haven't understood things because none of the kids are paying attention in the field. They're all kicking dirt, they're trying to like sit on the ground. But because some of them are a little stronger and bigger, our move is always like, you have to give the other coach a heads up if a kid can actually hit. Because they're playing with those kind of softer baseballs, but and what I never understand is it's a coach really whose team is decent, but like the second time around the order obviously, but you say like I always go up and go, look, I have my team in this order because first 3 kids can hit, like they're gonna hit. One of them can rake actually, like get your shortstop and third baseman ready. Like I'm gonna pick him, and he's probably gonna pull like a pretty decent line drive there. One of the coaches should be over there. After those 3, it's hit or miss. No one's really gonna do anything. And the other guy will be like, yeah, our team's hit or miss too. And I'm like, but you have to let me know. Our kids aren't paying it. Like we're saying baseball ready, but they're 5. Some of them baseball ready means like the hat's on their gloves on their head as a hat. Like they're looking down their shirt for bugs, like whatever, man. And I got really annoyed because one of the game, like hitter after hitter was just smashing the ball. And I was like, so which one of your kids can play? Like which ones are really good? So I know like I'll move kids away from there. I'll make sure I stand next to them in case it really comes at their head. He's like, no, I don't know if they've done this before. And I was like, dude, these kids didn't just show up today with this ridiculous swing, like a perfect plane swing. Like, which ones are good. Just tell me. And he's like, yeah, you never know. And the whole lineup was okay. But there were 2 kids after the first time around. I was like, everybody back up on the outfield. Like this kid can hit. And I was like, and after the game, I said, why won't you just in the beginning say, look, my leadoff hitter and my second hitter, whatever they were, they can hit the hell out of the ball. Have your kids ready. Like, what are you gaining? Like, what happens just because you surprised me by they could hit? Like, I told you on our team who could hit to get your kids ready. And, luckily no one gets hurt and whatever. But it's annoying when you're like, okay, thanks for sharing that information. It's not a court of law.
But it's probably because of the college scouts that are in the looking to see who softball players at age 5. Yeah, I get that. A lot of great people weighing in, a lot of great things weighing in right here. Sean Kingbird, our boy Kingbird says, I yell the obvious from the sidelines. It's a team game. Have fun, guys. That is great. That is something you definitely want to encourage parents to do. Just kind of have the same mantra over and over again, like play smart, have fun, and play hard. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Tim weighs in, have a sit down and explain, the kid that they'll warm the bench if the stupid things don't stop. Well, that's, in case someone that is like a star player or is just like being obnoxious. I got that. Daniel Starr says obnoxious coaches are likely leading teams with kids who have obnoxious parents. Misery loves company.
Well, that is true because I've only had one, and the kids are still pretty young, but one team where I was like, I went over and said, like, look, we played in a team where this again, so my son was 4 playing t-ball, and one of the kids who was, probably, I don't know, he seemed like he was a year or two older. He was playing shortstop, but he was fast enough and good enough to get every infield ball, basically. Everything off a tee, he was getting it. He was running in front of the first baseman, running in front of the pitcher, and the coach was just letting it happen. And I wasn't coaching that year, and me and a couple of the coaches who were sitting there were like, he's got to stop this kid. Like, the kid doesn't know he's 4. He's having a good time, but every other kid is pouting and crying because he's stealing the ball from them. And the parent was like, way to go, way to go. And I'm like, if this is your kid, you got to get in there and go, hey, other people's turn. I want you to just sit here, let them get the ball. You're at shortstop. You don't get the ball in front of the pitcher or the first baseman or the second baseman. And the dad was just going nuts. Like, yeah, you got to get it, buddy. And finally, like, I went out to the coach and we were like, look, every other kid is miserable. They don't want to play. They're all sitting down. You got to talk to the parent. And he was not a confrontational guy. No one likes to do that. And so finally he's like, do you guys mind doing it? And we did. We went over and said, hey, do you mind having him? We don't want to have him sit down, but can he just sit in his position? If a ball comes to him, get it. But you're encouraging him to steal the ball from a bunch of 4-year-olds who just want the ball. And he was just like, well, they got to really want it. And I was like, really? They got to want it? A 4-year-old standing on second base is supposed to fight for a ground ball from the shortstop.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah, in what level of baseball is the second baseman expecting the shortstop or the third baseman to sprint across the infield to steal a ball or knock him over to get the ball? Has that ever happened in any level of baseball? Is that what we teach? And the guy was like, well, this level, it's all about just, learning to be aggressive. And I was like, it's not about what? I was like, what is baseball about learning to be aggressive? What are you talking about?
It's all about the contracts, the shoe endorsements, the deals,
We're not all perfect parents, and everybody has their issues. And I'm sure I've done stuff as a coach, and you've done stuff as a coach that has pissed people off. I truly try not to, but occasionally you see these parents who are just out to lunch. Like, you're teaching the kid everything wrong about sports. That's what you're doing. There's no arbitrary, like, well, in some version this is good. There's no version where a kid sprinting across, knocking over a first baseman from 40 feet away to get the ball makes any sense in baseball.
Jeff Covington says you show patience. He or she is having to deal with a team of full parents. And I get that.
I coach. I know.
That is true, but you also got to make sure that the coach is doing right by not only their team, their players, but the other team's players as well. And, it was funny, like, there are certain things that you kind of find that like hit you right in the wheelhouse. One of my friends, he tweeted something that Stan Van Gundy's had, and I think you saw it too, where at the middle school grade level and younger, are you teaching kids to win, or are you teaching kids how to play the game correctly? And now he's an announcer, but he was a head coach for a while in the NBA, and he was saying that he has seen a lot of players, a lot of kids, because he has got kids, and when he goes to different tournaments, he's like, you can tell which coaches coach for teams to win and which coach actually puts in the fundamentals and like says, this is how you dribble, this is how you set a screen, this is how you do all these things. It's like we're in this win now society. It starts from the pro level all the way down, and it infiltrates like the kids level, and it's harmful because they don't know how to play. And he was so spot on. It was Sunday night. I'm like, this is so true. And that's when I said to you the next day, I'm like, we need to do a show on this because I keep on saying things. It's not just me feeling this way. So like, oh man.
Yeah, the issue is like it couples with the specialization thing. Like the idea that pick your sport that a kid plays that year round at 6, 7, 8 years old is absurd. And it kind of gets to the level where some of the parents become a little bit entitled, where especially the coaches like the team I was talking about, or you're like, where these kids are totally together for a long, long, long time. And it's like a traveling team of 7-year-olds who are clearly better than everybody else. It doesn't even make any sense why you would want to do that beyond your thinking this is a, college scholarship at minimum and all that, which is fine. But every single study, every single pro athlete you talk to, all of them are against the idea of specialization. They're against the idea of traveling teams too young. The kids will all end up burning out or getting hurt. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Our boy Kingbird is looking for some advice. Anybody can weigh in as well as John and myself, but I've always wanted to coach basketball. Hopefully I'll get the chance. Any words of wisdom you guys can give me? Yes. Everything that John and I kind of been saying, like what we saw that we weren't happy with, don't do that. Do the opposite of that. Just teach the kids the fundamentals and break it down to, depending on the age level, depending on, what type of kids you're teaching, if they played before, if they not, just the first practice more than anything, just get to know the players and how they play and like how long they've been playing, why they're on the team, because, kids at that age, 10 and younger will be honest with you. Oh, I wanted to play because so-and-so was playing, or, oh, I was watching it on TV and I wanted to play, or whatever the case may be. Just talk to your kids and teach them the fundamentals and go at a pace where everybody is getting it, not just a couple people. That's like
that's the thing. I think you got to keep the kids moving a lot of the time. Like you got to let them all try every position, let them all move around, so that they're not staying. Like and I think enlisting the help of parents who are willing to help is also key. So you can have especially with T-ball, like if you have one hitting station with 10 kids, 6 of them are climbing the fence in the dugout. Like if you can have one hitting station, maybe 2 fielding stations with your assistant coaches or something, like that's definitely the way it works for me. Like I also do this thing and it's worked. My brother mentioned it and it works for him. I started doing it and it really gets the kids off right. So for the start of practice, I treat it like the first 5 minutes like you would for a pro team. We do like jumping jacks, like a full thing, like jumping jacks, some burpees. Like we do some, not at all in a serious way, but like 5 squat jumps, 5 things. So we get them activated, all moving, you know what I mean? Like everybody over. Yeah, but it works. Like we do it before every game and every practice, and other coaches look over and they're like, "Wow!" And I'm like, "It's just to get some work in. Like, it's just exercise at this point." And for some reason, for whatever reason, they all seem a little more focused after that. Like they've already got a lot of running in and a lot of exercise in, and they're tired, and they're watching me and the assistant coach do it with them, and they learn how to, because that's a big part of it, is how to do stuff. So that one to me always works. And so across the sports, if you can get them a 5-minute warm-up that they used to, kind of almost getting them into the zone of like, here's the sport we're playing. And I always ask them questions like in between the sets of stuff. I'm like, what base is that? First base, like to keep them going just on the knowledge part of the game, which people always forget. But like, you're teaching basketball. Like if you really stop and said, what's man to man? Some of them will probably freeze and be like, I don't know. Yeah. So it's like, I always do at baseball, like what position's behind home plate? And like half the kids are like, it's like catcher. It's the catcher's behind home plate, Yeah. So that's what helps for me.
This is, I think, I don't know. I think Ryan came to the show a little bit late, and that's cool. But he was kind of mentioning what you were talking about. Ryan says, always rotated my lineup every game of from the off hitter, just to let the kids have an opportunity to go first. Also informed other coaches of the hard hitters. Also rotated the fielding positions and changed it up for the kids. Granted, this was T-ball and coach pitch, but no, right there, that again, young level, starting at an early age, giving them the idea of like, who knows if when the kids are starting at that age, do they want to play, center field, first base, whatever, give them the opportunity to experience everything. Because sometimes, people will be like, you're kind of tall, you should be out in the outfield or this or that. So Ryan, I think you're spot on, man. Great thing. So Ryan, Sean Kingbird, take a look at what Ryan's talking about. Maybe you guys meet up on Facebook and he can give you some tips.
No, that's what I do. I rotate them all. I let the kids pick, they all want to be pitcher and first base because that gets the ball almost all the time. So I make sure I rotate those over, and then every inning we just kind of everybody slides over one starting in the middle and moves across, and that's how we figure it out. And so, there's so many tips and tactics, and I try to be as honest as I can with the coaches on the other side of the ball too. I think that really helps. And my brother was just telling me a story the other day. It was actually like an hour after we talked, where he coaches my nephew's 5-year-old soccer team. And they went up to each other before the game, and he was like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" He's like, "Yeah, we're." The other guy was like, "Well, we're not really that good. Has been a rough season, so we're gonna just let you guys know it's been a little difficult." My brother was like, "All right, yeah, well, so we can play 4 or 5 guys." My brother was like, "We can go 4 or whatever it is." And this team proceeded to destroy my brother's team, and the guy basically lied and was like, "Wait," my brother's like, "What the hell was that all about? Like, why would you say you're not good? They were up like 12 goals to 0. Like, your kids are all over the place. They know how to dribble. They're scoring left and right." And he was like, "Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those days." My brother was like, "Oh, you feel like a big tough guy now? Like, I told the kids to relax a little bit because your team's not good, and they're 5-year-olds, and the parents like that, it's like Will Smith said, some parents just don't understand."
Well, Chubbs, again, Aussie rules. Rugby and soccer are our main sports here. And each respect live in a different level. Train together as a team, but not upon skill level. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, nice. Speaking of like dads who are parents who understand, Pudge Rodriguez, as boy John mentioned, check out the link right over here. This is our interview with Pudge Rodriguez. A lot of cool things. We talk about fatherhood, baseball, but I even asked him like, how is being a catcher? Because catcher kind of calls the whole game and is like the leader. How is being a catcher similar to being a dad in the family dynamics? And 2, you can win some cool stuff from Pudge, autograph stuff as well. But make sure you check that out and leave a review on iTunes, wherever you listen. That's how you have a chance to win that good stuff. But a lot of cool things too. He talks about like, always making sure that he taught his kids properly how to play and all that good stuff. But any last comments you want to chime in on, John, before we leave?
No, we've covered almost all the guys without the titles that I was going to it's the top 5 list. We've kind of gone through all of them. I think
read them off.
This is like, it's a weird motivational thing, but like the guy who kind of wants to humiliate the other team, even though they're 5 or 6 or 7-year-olds, like I've seen that where it's like you're purposely giving misinformation and things to like make the other team, or you're a guy like calling timeouts when the game's out of hand. Like, what purpose does that serve aside from promoting your team? Yep. The fun killer is the worst, where it's like when you kind of go up to the coach, like I was talking about, and you agree earlier, here's what's probably best for these 2 groups of kids. Can we kind of skirt this rule? Or instead of calling 3 outs, every kid on our team is going to be out all the time. Let's just let like 6 of them bat instead, so more of them are just sitting on the bench. And they're like, no, that's not how you do it in 5-year-old T-ball or whatever. The sandbagger, which is, that's the one where it's like, no, we're not really good, or we don't really have any good kids. And then my kid almost gets decapitated because the first 3 kids have are switch hitters, can all do that. And then the last one is just the overarching a-hole who they're never going to get it. There's not even a reason to talk to them. But every year you're going to coach against 1 or 2 guys who has like an adult-sized shirt of his team's team, has the guys together, for 3 different seasons or 4 different seasons a year, all summer, all spring. They have, they're a well-oiled machine, and good for them that your 8-year-olds are unbelievable. Hopefully they don't hate you and hate the sport in 3 years.
Oh, this is so true, especially on social media. If you yell louder, you win the argument.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Scream at the kids, embarrass yourself. That kind of stuff.
Oh man! All right, great show, everybody. Thanks for.
You feel better? You were heated the other day. You feel good? You feel like you got off your chest a little bit?
Like now that we're kind of joking around, and having fun. I feel a lot better. But like in the moment, I just saw my kids, my players, and how they were reacting, and just like everybody else, like the parents on our side, on our team. I'm just like, yeah, this is not how you. This is 10-year-old kid. Yeah. You keep score. I don't care if you win, but like calling a timeout 30 seconds after you're winning like 20. That's not cool.
You should have called a timeout after that and had your whole team just stand and applaud their team. Like a sarcastic golf clap to everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Next tomorrow, because Facebook was down, that's why we did the show today instead of yesterday. But we're doing another show tomorrow. What are we doing, John? Want to give them a heads up?
What are we doing? I just blanked out. What's the show tomorrow?
It's, especially around the holidays and all stuff, keeping how to keep it healthy and still working out.
We're doing a how to stay in shape, how to eat healthy throughout the holidays. Some tips that a lot of you don't know. I spent a lot of my career writing for men's health, for men's fitness, for muscle and fitness. So feel free to hit me up with questions beforehand. I can answer them on the show tomorrow. I'll put kind of a top 5, 10 list together of what to do, what not to do. And I don't know, Dan, if we're on a show broadcast on Facebook and it's down, I'm not sure how we should feel about that at the moment. It can go down in 2 minutes, and that's okay. But now we want everybody to be able to hear us and stay on the show. Anyway, so tomorrow, will be a fun show. And subscribe to the podcast, please.
Yes, do that as well. And always please leave comments. We appreciate that. So for John and myself, thanks for taking the time to chat with us. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.